that finishing, not finishing, whatever my time was, whatever any time is in any of my races, that no matter what, I was enough. Just as I am this moment right here, right now, nothing needs to change. I'm enough. And that came to me after I raced Mendocino a week later and PR'd that 50K. And I remember sitting in my hotel room after that, and I might have even just laid down to go to bed, and I sat back up because this download came into me. I had to write it down about that I was enough, that I was absolutely enough, even if I didn't PR the 50K, even if I hadn't finished Lake Sonoma, that it all came into me, and that was exactly what I was meant to learn that week.
Welcome back to the Yogi Triathlete podcast. I'm Jess, and yes, I'm the host of this show. Today, I am welcoming back Liz McCutcheon and BJ Gumkowski. Liz is Yogi Triathlete's run coach. She's got a few years of experience under her belt. Nah, I'm only kidding. She's been running for over 40 years, and I just think that's insane. She's been coaching for over 5, and she's been on the coaching team of Yogi Triathlete since early 2020. We're super psyched to have her back, and by her side, or I should say by my side, is the co-founder and head coach of Team Yogi Triathlete, BJ, my husband, business partner, soul partner, teacher, contrast creator in my life. He's been a lifelong athlete who's been focused on the sport of triathlon for the past 18 years. So you guys, we got a lot of experience in the house today, and I can't wait to dive in. Beej and Liz, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah.
What episode? I've been on a few times now.
You have. The first one you were on was the Mendo Smackdown?
Yeah, with Jill.
With Jill and her dirty white visor? Hopefully that thing has been burned. Beej, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be back. Good to be surrounded by some amazing coaches, humans.
I just love having you guys on the show because then I get to be the host.
This is your party, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, like last time, you guys, I can't remember what episode it was, but I think it was back in, was it March that we launched our first episode with you two? And same thing, you guys don't know any of the questions I'm about to ask.
We know nothing.
I kind of feel like we should have like a buzzer. Like I kind of feel like it's like a game show.
Oh yeah, what was that? Family
buzzers.
Feud? Was that where that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Family Feud. And actually one of our podcast guests, Tara Callman, who came to us from Dublin, Ireland, her and her family were the 5-day champions on Family Feud back in the day.
Wow.
And we had a party.
They won $25,000.
We had a party in Boulder, and she brought the VCR tape.
Yep, she brought over the tapes.
Everybody wasn't partying. They were in the basement watching the video.
They were partying. They were just partying in front of, because you do need to have a certain amount of hops in your system, I think, to watch
an 80s episode of Family
young
Feud.
12-year-old Tara crushing it on Family Feud. Okay, back to the show, you guys. Okay. First question's for Liz. Liz, how have you fueled your morning so far? We know nutrition's important. We know you're living the demonstration. What do you got?
That's a great question. So today, my training is happening after this. So I went a little heavier and had steel-cut oats with a little bit of soy milk, blueberries, banana, some nut butter, and a little bit of flaxseed in there. And I've been hydrating.
And how many hours between you putting that in, and because you're a runner, so I'm assuming you're going to go out and run, how many hours between putting something heavier in and the run? How many hours are there?
About 3 hours, a little over 3 hours.
And then will you take anything before the workout to kind of top you off, or do you not need that?
What I often do is I'll take, it's not long, I only have 45 minutes of climbing to do today, so only. But I will probably usually what I do is I take a goo with me, like a liquid goo or something just to have it, but normally I won't take anything else. If it was something longer, like say I was going out for an hour and a half or 2, I would take in something else. Just like maybe a half a bar or a gel, depending, or just a banana.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, 45 minutes. But I always like to have something because I've gone out, for like 20 minutes and then all of a sudden I feel blood sugar drop, and it's like whatever that day is, right? Stress is different every day. Sleep is different every day. We're different every day. So I always think having that just in case gel is super important.
Yeah, I learned early on just to be prepared, but I don't automatically take it. I wait and see if I need it.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have it.
So how do you know when you need it? Like, what are some telltale signs for you?
If I'm on the trails, I start tripping. It's like I'm not able to like focus and stay present, or my legs start getting heavy. Usually nausea for me is a sign that I need more I'm not drinking enough. So I need to start taking some in. And if I just start taking that in, I'll feel a lot better. But I'm always paying attention to the thoughts that come in on whether, like, I argue with myself about taking in fuel. But I know I better now that it can be the difference between me having a great training workout and a crappy one. And to me, that makes all the difference in how I recover.
Yeah. I think that cue about tripping on the trail, I've noticed that too. Like right before I was injured last year, I was tripping on the trail a lot. Remember, I was taking some big tumbles. And so that to me was a sign that I didn't have that alertness or that energy level. Like it was being redirected somewhere, which ended up, but I just kept going. And that ended up being an injury. But I think paying attention to those signs, right? That's just awareness.
Totally. And I didn't used to listen to that, but I would say the last couple years it's heightened. Totally. I can see it now. Especially, you're right, the whole tripping on the trail. And that is my first sign. Something's going on.
Something's going on. Yeah.
Going down.
All right. I'm going to stay with you, Liz, for a sec here because I want to know what you're training for and how it's going.
I am training for Everesting, and I'm called the Utah #1 because I guess they're doing 2 this year, which I didn't realize. But so August 19th to the 22nd, I'm doing Everesting out in Utah. It's at Snow Basin, and it 13 times up, 2.3 miles, taking the gondola down each time, and at the end, 29,029 feet, which is the same height as Everest. And it's going well. It's funny because this morning when we were on the live with the team, we were talking a little bit about mindset and that difference between just clicking over and going to that next level and knowing you have that next level. And I'm noticing just that shift that's happened with me on the hills where I used to always power hike. And now I challenge myself. Well, let's see how far you can run up. And normally I can, it's too steep. I got to power hike. It's better for me. And the hills are strong right now.
Nice.
Yeah,
so sounds like it's going well.
It's going good, yeah. And it's a great time of year to train too.
So so now I'm going to take your race, but I'm going to ask BJ a question. This is not on my list. Because something just came to me. Like you're going to be doing this 13 times, but then you're going to be hopping in the gondola and you're going to come down. So you're going to have rest. So Beej, somebody who's listening, who's also training for this, or they're thinking about training for this, what are some things they could do in that gondola to kind of help recover or keep things alive? Not really recover, because you don't want to fully recover. You want to keep things alive on that gondola ride before you start heading up again.
First thing, I wouldn't sit. If you don't have to sit, I wouldn't sit. It would be a great opportunity as things get deeper in there is to change socks and shoes as an option to take that in. Nutrition, chance to refuel, because it's probably going to be challenging. But you can train yourself to take nutrition in as you go up a hill, but it might be challenging to get in enough of what you need. So maybe in that rest period, you can do that, but also meditate. Why can't you just, standing meditation, just sit there, close your eyes and take a few breaths. I can't imagine the gondola ride's going to be too long. Yeah. A couple minutes, if that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long, but I don't think it's very long because you consider you're going up 2.3 miles and then to have that come down. I think it will depend. I bet you at the beginning, sometimes it might be crowded, but as the day goes on and people are maybe taking more rest time at the bottom, my goal is to go up, come down, take any fuel I need with me, go back up, and just keep the cycle going. You have 30 hours to do it.
Nice. Keep the momentum going,
Yeah.
right? Like
Totally
it's
keep it going.
pushing the car right over the edge and letting it go down, as opposed to trying to stop that car once it gets going. Like, it's so much harder to start it back up after it's already begun. So yeah, keep that going. I like it. All right, Beej, who's your favorite triathlon coach and why?
Wow, that's it's an on-the-spot question. I guess, wow, who's my favorite triathlon coach? Right now, I guess I would say like Brett Sutton. I've been reading a lot of his articles, and a lot of it, I know he's perceived as someone who brings extremes to the sport and trains athletes, like the top-tiered athletes, with massive sets and massive workouts. But as I read his articles, a lot of the stuff that he talks about is pretty basic. And it just resonates with me. It's like consistency. It's about feeding the athlete's desire and joy factor. It's building power through the exercises you're doing in the sport, not necessarily adding strength and weight workouts outside of the sport. There's things that you can do, and challenging yourself, like always, as we talked about this morning, going up that next level, like doing a swim set and then coming back in the afternoon and doing the same swim set. Why? Because just to prove to yourself and your mind and that you can do it, and that carries over to racing. So yeah, I've just been reading a lot of his stuff. It's been in my awareness, and on the spot, that's really what connects with me. Plus, I would say I ride with Scotty DeFilippis and Carrie Lester, and they were under Brett's guidance as well. So I feel like when I speak to them, I'm getting that same sort of coaching vibration and philosophy.
So what is it that you see in Brett that you like? Which I guess would be the why part of that question. Like, what are the qualities that you're like, you just love?
He doesn't overcomplicate things. It's really simple. Just super simple. Just do the work. Like,
Please. Just do the work.
Just do the work. Show up. Prepare. If this means something to you, then show up and give yourself the chance to do it. And if you happen to not complete the workout this time, you will the next time. It's not a pass to throw that out the window. We all started somewhere. We all took that first step. Liz, you did that first hill. You needed to see that you could do the hill. I needed to do my first Ironman to see I could do an Ironman. So we were always at that place where we needed to experience the unknown. And I just love how he puts you into the unknown a lot, get you really familiar with that.
Awesome. I like that. I like that answer.
Yeah, I could have gone into my head really deep and kind of figured it out, but
then the time would have been up and
right.
everybody would have abandoned the show.
It would have been part
We
2.
probably would have had a fight.
Part 3.
Come on, BJ. Just choose. All right, Liz. So an athlete comes to you because they want to be a better runner. What's one key element that you believe helps someone become a better runner? And I know there's like a whole bunch, and this is a big question that I'm asking, but like, what's the first thing that comes, like just that one element? What's the one thing that like is essential to becoming a better runner?
Knowing your why. Why do you want to become a better runner? That's the first thing that came in my head was the word why.
Yeah.
Just knowing why. Because if you don't know why, and the real why, not the I want to show it on social media why, or I want to show that other person why, it's that deep inner knowing of why they want to be a better runner. And defining that. What is a better runner to them? Is it running more efficiently? Is it being able to run longer than they have before? So defining that for themselves.
Who's your favorite runner right now?
My favorite runner?
Yeah, right now. And, they can be on this earth or not on this earth, but...
That's a tough question.
Who's the first person that came to mind?
My daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you said it,
awesome.
my daughter Anna, she's been running. She runs the 800 on the track team I coach. And the 800, as we know, is not an easy race to race. And she's been PRing. And she handled it with grace yesterday that they moved the 800 in the district championships to yesterday instead of being Saturday, and she wasn't able to do it. But she qualified for it, but she wasn't able to do it because she had to work. She had already had the obligation. She couldn't find someone to cover her shift. So yeah.
What an epic life lesson right there.
Totally. But she's in the 4x4. So what I love about her is, and I could also say it's my older daughter, but she's since graduated and is college. But what I love is I can see her before the race, and she's walking around getting her mind around it. Like she's away from people. She's not in the energy of others. You can see that she's getting her mindset ready to get on the line. And I love how she gets on the line and she's just ready to go. And she goes.
That's awesome. That's best answer ever. Was your mind like, oh, I need to pick somebody like in the media or professional, like that would be the right answer?
You know what? A while ago, I would say, yeah, I'd be like, oh, what does everybody want me to say? But now I know better. And it was the first thing that came into my mind.
That was the best answer ever. Cool. Beej, what type of athlete do you think would benefit from a coach? What are the qualities of an athlete who could really benefit from being coached?
I think first thing that comes to mind is an athlete that doesn't that has an opportunity with trust, trusting themselves, trusting their choices, trusting their path, trusting the workouts that they do, and they might just need that guide to kind of steer them a little bit left or right of where they're going, not totally flipping it around 180 degrees, but sort of helping them or guiding them into finding the trust and belief in themselves. Because that's what I would want in a coach, not an authoritative approach where the big hammer comes down and this is the way it has to be. I believe it's a person that just needs a little nurturing, just needs a little encouragement and maybe an ear, maybe just listening and being able to speak to the opportunities that they see once the athlete speaks. And that athlete has everything they need. They're just maybe wavering a little too much left or right, and the coach can kind of reel them into maybe just a clearer direction.
Yeah.
Without being the hammer of absolution. Like this is the way it has to be.
I love that answer. And that leads me to, I'm going to take it over to Liz. So we know, all three of us know, that until we see it, we can't see it, right? Like we can't see it. If it's buried and we're hanging out on the surface of life, we're not going to see it until we turn in and we start to look at what's brewing under the surface. So for an athlete that we recognize, is having some of those trust issues, belief in themselves, things like that, what are some of the symptoms, like the symptoms that you would see in an athlete that would say like, oh yeah, like they've got some trust issues? Because you're the objective view and maybe they can't see it yet, but listening to this, they might be like, oh my God, I think that's me. Oh my God, I think that's me.
Yeah, some of them who listen are going to be like, oh, she caught me.
Yeah, like why did she have to take that to a second part of the question? I was very happy being in the dark about my non-trust.
I would say one thing, and I would have to say this is what I notice the most when it comes to just trusting the process and not listening to everything that's out and around them, is when you're working with an athlete and they start recording their runs, and you start seeing them and you give them, say, zone 2 conversational pace run. And every single run, they're working to go and get a certain number of mileage at a certain pace, or they're going faster, or their heart rate's going up on these runs. And like they're racing and trying to PR each one or get that amount of mileage in that amount of time. Yeah, I would say that's definitely, I would say, one of the first things I noticed. Or you give them a couple days of workouts, and what they do isn't what you put in the plan.
We've
and then
never
they
seen
do it,
this.
Then they do it consistently, and you're like,
What?
Okay. And then they're like, I'm having this sensation in my hip or my knee.
Yeah, that's what the gray zone will give you. But I think that's so true. You know, BJ and I were reflecting on leading up to my first Ironman in 2008. I ran my first marathon in the fall of 2007. I ran my second marathon in January of 2008. I ran my third marathon in March of 2008. And then I spent 5 weeks pool running because I had a stress reaction in my shin, because I needed to, and why I'm saying this, because I needed that evidence that I could run a marathon, right? But more evidence is even better. But actually what more evidence gave me was an injury.
Right.
So I think to a degree, I won't speak for you guys, I'll make an assumption that we've all done this to some degree.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Totally.
And you need it, right? It's a necessary part. I was a necessary part of my path. And now I can speak to doing a 2-hour pool jog with Z4 intervals, like a crazy person in the pool. Like I had to warn the lifeguard, like I'm going to be fine. I just want to let you know, I got to get my heart rate up to 165, 170 in the pool. So I'm going to look crazy. But in the end, I wanted evidence that I could do something tough. Those 3 marathons were nothing compared to that 2-hour pool run.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the thing I love is that at least the athletes I'm working with, they're so open to hearing it. And they know when you say it, they're like, you're totally right.
Yep. But you guys create a safe place. You create a safe space for that. And I think that's so important. Like BJ was saying, not this authoritarian, you've got to do it my way. It's got to be this way. But it's, as BJ uses all the time, like being those rumble strips, because the only person that can do it is them. The only person that can believe in themselves is them. We believe in them. We see their possibilities. It's easier to see that in another, but to remember that when we see it in another, it's because it's in us, and we wouldn't be able to see it in another if we didn't have that reference point.
No, and I say all the time, I'm here to guide. I'm not here to tell you what to do, force you to do anything. I'm just here to guide you onto your path. Well, we're always on our path, but to continue on their paths with momentum to who they really are. And even when I see these things going on, I approach it from the way of, hey, I'm curious. And then I lead into I'm just noticing. And then I kind of guide with a question, I'm just wondering. And then it makes it an easier way to open up the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To ask them to go in and go into that inquiry. I love it. Beej, what are you super jazzed about right now?
I'm super jazzed about my race. I'm. It's been 2 years since I've raced an Ironman, and so I have the butterflies that are like, oh my God, can I do this distance? Even though I've done 15 of them, it's this. I still am human, so I have that thought. But I'm just so excited because I feel like the past 2 years I've really changed as an athlete. And the way I approach races and training. Actually, my whole approach is different. And I'm just excited to see what that day unfolds. And I was sharing this morning on the live, I actually had my first nightmare last night about like not getting to the start line, which hasn't happened in years, like a long time. And I woke up to it and I was like, I kind of laughed at it and had an appreciation that I can still feel these things. Like I can still be in that newness, that excitement, because you can either see it as anxiousness or nervousness or fear, or you can see it as a moment for excitement. And so I choose excitement. At first, it may look and come in the shape of fear to most people or anxiousness, but I choose to focus on excitement. So I'm super like excited to be in the vibration of an Ironman, to be racing with pros out there, to showcase this run fitness and bike fitness and swim fitness that I've been building over and over again. And to really say like, you know, in February, I was unable to bike and run. And now it's June and I'm like at peak fitness, like I probably where I have never been before. So I'm just excited to see what that means on a celebration day.
What race is it?
Ironman Couer, which was my first Ironman back in 2006.
It was also another first, wasn't it?
It was my first DNF. The last time I was there, I was taken back on mile 18 in an ambulance back to transition. It was so hot, and I had definitely not done a good job. I was overtrained, and I can share a video. It's on YouTube of how much I was suffering in my training leading up to that. I was definitely overtrained, and I DNF'd. I couldn't finish the last 8 miles of the marathon. So yeah, it's
you
not
looked
that
terrible coming out of T2.
Yeah,
I was like, go! And our friend Leanne was there, and she's like, Jess, he looks really bad. He was just devoid of color.
Let's paint this picture and see if anybody can relate. Your training is amazing, you believe, and you're crushing yourself, and you're doing epic workouts day after day, and you're not sleeping well or eating well or resting well, and you're doing projects late into the night leading up into the race, and then you get to the race, and you have one of your worst swims, so you go and hammer the bike as hard as you can, and you have a bike PR, and then you suffer for that and everything you've done on the run, only to be carted off in an ambulance, and then to walk away from the sport for a year or two.
Yeah, that was monumental. I can't believe that.
Pretty much what happened.
Yeah, that was wild, dude.
And then that was the same year that we moved back east. We decided to pack up everything and leave Boulder and go back to Rhode Island. So.
Well, funny little side story was the night before the race, I had my first psychic reading with that amazing woman. I think you've worked with her too, Liz. And this was the first time. And she was in Boston and I was in Coeur d'Alene. And I get off the phone and BJ's like, so what did she say? Am I going to qualify for Kona? I was like, well, she said that we're moving back east and you're going to live with your parents and I'm going to stay in Boulder and sell the house. And he was like, what? And it all unfolded.
Exactly.
It all unfolded. Yeah. And, yeah. I think I did ask her if you were going to qualify for Kona, and I think she had a firm no on that, but I didn't want to tell you that. It was a pretty wild weekend. So I'm looking forward to going back. That was also my first Ironman, and such a beautiful place. So we're looking forward to it. All right, cool. Good story, Beej.
Good story.
Okay, going from Beej's worst race ever. Liz, what was your greatest race ever?
Oh, wow. Let me go back through the files. I always I like surprising people.
Can we get archives up here, please?
Yeah. Excuse me. You see him wheeling in the dolly with the file cabinet. My best race ever was DNFing Lake Sonoma.
Oh, look at that.
I know people would be like, isn't it when you... Yeah, I could say it was my 5K PR or getting under 150 in the half marathon, or I don't know, getting my second fastest time on the marathon in Chicago, but it's not. My most epic was DNFing Lake Sonoma. And what it's still continuing to teach me, I keep saying, I don't want to run you. We're going to cancel it. I don't want to run you. We're going to cancel it again. I don't want to run you. Now we're going to have it Labor Day. Oh, I could maybe do Labor Day. No, I can't. Oh, you know what? You can defer to next year. I will be lining up in April of 2022.
I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it's telling you, you cannot deny this. It's like telling you, like, you get your butt back here.
I'm trying.
And let's finish this up, my friend. Let's finish
Totally.
this up.
Totally.
Oh my
It's
God,
funny.
that's so amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to be lining up in April. I am extra excited now. My day is totally made. I love it.
Awesome. I like making people's days.
Yeah. What's one thing you pulled away from that made it your greatest?
Oh, so it was that finishing, not finishing, whatever my time was, whatever any time is in any of my races, that no matter what, I was enough. Just as I am this moment right here, right now, nothing needs to change. I'm enough. And that came to me after I raced Mendocino a week later and PR'd that 50K. And I remember sitting in my hotel room after that, and I might have even just laid down to go to bed, and I sat back up because this download came into me. I had to write it down about that I was enough, that I was absolutely enough, even if I didn't PR the 50K, even if I hadn't finished Lake Sonoma, that it all came into me, and that was exactly what I was meant to learn that week.
And has that stayed with you?
Totally. I've had moments of deviating, like where I have moments where I forget, but I'm so aware of the 10,000 foot view now that I see it right away and snap myself out of it.
Yeah. So realizing you're enough doesn't make you immune from those moments where you're like, you're such a piece of crap. It's more of holding that 10,000 foot view and say, you know what's a piece of crap? That belief and that voice. And there's no substance to that. So, yeah, that's awesome. Love it. Okay. Beach, you're in taper now. We just heard that you didn't do a very good job of that back in 2010. So we're wondering, what are the elements of a good
Jess,
taper?
it was 2006. Let's be clear.
No, 2010 was the DNF, was the Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, I thought he said it was 2006.
That was his first time. We've been to Coeur d'Alene a few times.
Sorry. Okay. I apologize.
You know, Beach, he
please delete this from the podcast.
he gets his sights on a race, and then we just go back to it every year. Kind of like Mendocino. I guess I do the same thing, right? Yeah, so like you just tapered me for a little trail race, and you did a great job. You always do a great job of tapering me. So what are the elements of a good taper?
Number one, don't practice the taper in taper. Actually see what starts to work well in your training. Take some light days, see how the body reacts. We're all unique, obviously, but we all adapt in different ways, and we all react to stresses in different ways. So to say that your taper would be the same as Liz's or mine, this is how it should be, I don't believe that's possible. But what we can do is focus on what's working well for the athlete, what doesn't work well for the athlete, and always tune into, maybe not the physical obviously will come down, but it's like, what is going on with the mind? How can we keep the mind firing and in that mode of confidence and belief without what happens when what we've been doing for 50 plus weeks, all of a sudden we take that down. And so what does the athlete, do? It's like, what do I do with this time? Or they start to panic train or have thoughts of, they're not going to be fit enough because somebody else panic training. They're not going to be fit enough because they see on social media that somebody else is doing a different workout. So I think some of the elements are, more rest, removing things in your life that are not necessary, like these tasks and projects that maybe you can push off. And that might mean saying no to a few things, like taking ownership and feeling uncomfortable with being a little selfish and saying, I've spent all this time training, I've spent 50 weeks training, and then in the final 2 weeks, you add all these commitments because you're not training as much, and then now you get wrapped up in other things that are bringing stress into your life and distractions. So I think a real good taper is allowing things to fall away, like allowing yourself to say no, allowing yourself to get some extra sleep, allowing yourself to maybe skip a workout here and there, because this isn't the time to get fit. This is the time to allow the fitness to absorb and soak in the body and get as primed as you can for a race day, because you can't even line up for a race if you're not healthy, calm, and topped off. So you got to get to that start line however you need to do it. Even if you did nothing in the final 2 weeks of a race, it's better than, putting yourself in, jeopardizing yourself in a situation where you're pushing intensity that could lead to an injury or, a fatigue or some mind stuff going on. So, and tapers can be anywhere from, 3 days to 2 weeks, I would say, depending on the distance and the athlete. Yeah. So I like to keep, for me, I'm like I was talking about my training, these 2 weeks for me are still keeping some intensity and a little bit endurance in there. It's been feeling good for me leading into races. And that's for me. This is what I've discovered. I've done the 2 weeks where you do 5 or 6 hours of training total, and it hasn't ever felt good. So I keep the wheels turning over. I do small bits of intensity, and then the rest of it is kicking up the feet and getting ready for the race in other ways, logistically.
I think that's really key because we're all so different. Not everybody loves taper. People who are more like high energy, fiery, it is good to kind of take them down a little bit. Beej, what I know about you, from an Ayurvedic perspective, is that it is good for you to keep a little heat in there, keep that engine going, because you're more earth, you're more grounded. And so to pull it down too much, it's like that breaking the momentum. It's going to take more effort for you to pull that back, that energy back up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel. I feel like I take it down and then I'm never able to ramp it up on race day as much as I feel I could. So the day before a race, I'm going to bike with some intensity. I did that for the past 2 races and it felt good. All
right, let's define that, because somebody's going to go, I'm going to go out and hammer the course the day, because we've seen that. Remember that? Yeah. We saw, I think it was 2006. We were with our old coach Craig, and they were driving the bike course, and one of the athletes that was racing was 50 miles out on the bike course, riding the course. So that's a little too much. So we would say pull it back from there. What does that look like for you, the day before?
3 or 4 times, 5 minutes at race intensity.
And what's the total time that you're on the bike?
Bike for an hour 15. But I'm at that. But for one of my athletes, I would say go out and spin for 20 minutes, shift the gears, and make sure everything's working well with 30 minutes. For me, as the athlete that I am in this body at this point in time, an hour and 15 doesn't really. It's not taxing the body. It's actually revving it up. I do 6 and 7 hour rides, so to go 1:15 is not.
And you don't do 1 6 to 7 hour ride. You do it week after week after week after month after month after month.
And you better believe it. The day after the race, I'll be doing yoga. I'll be on the bike for an hour, and I'll be in the water again the day after the race.
Yeah, I saw the expressions on the faces the other day of the people who are doing Coeur d'Alene Beaches. We're going to be in the water and riding the bike the day after. They're like, okay.
I think the key too of what BJ said too is individual. Mm-hmm. Okay, because everybody listen to that, guys. Individual, and what may be right for him isn't right for you've got, and that's that going in again that we always talk about. Of you need to sit in stillness and know what's right for you, and you have to trust the process and trust the coach that they're going to give you what you need to succeed.
Yeah, it is, and when you sign on with a coach, there's a process there of creating that trust, but it requires the athlete to take a risk while being aware of how it's flowing and moving and listening to their gut. It's a process, but you got to take that risk to trust, because trust is not about the known. Trust is about the unknown. Trust is about the athlete you want to be.
Right.
Trust
Absolutely.
is the athlete you came here to be. You have to have that trust. So it takes a minute or two to get it. So Liz, what are two of would you say are your core training principles as a coach?
I would say being open to the process, just being open to show up and do the work. Like you have this goal and then you show up, but then you're not doing the work. Like even if it's just doing some of the work, showing that you mean business with what you want to achieve is important to me, I would say. And I have to say, being open to meditation, that is such a core part of my training and what I give to my current athletes. And what's funny is I never have someone say they're not open to it. Even those that end up not working with me, they're still open to it. Yeah. But what's funny is, and then when they start to do it and they start to realize, oh, okay, I have to sit still. But they all gain, like, it's amazing what if you're open and willing, what can happen. So it's just being open for me is a big one, and showing up to do the work.
Yep.
Definitely.
Awesome. Beej, how do you slow down, because you're big on MAF training, how do you slow down your run without losing form? You know how people say, but I feel better when I'm running.
Right, because they have practiced running at that pace for a long period of time. So they've practiced and created the habit in their body that feels good.
So it might feel awkward at first to start to slow that down. What are some cues you would give them to keep their form where it's helpful and efficient for them as they adapt to a slower pace, which eventually is going to get them faster?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most often a slower pace equates to a more lumbering stride, so it's heavy on the body. I would switch that around, and it's a mantra that Siri Lindley really practices and shares with her athletes, which is quick feet, tiny steps. Quick feet, tiny steps. And so you're light on your feet, and you're relaxed upper body, and your stride length is a lot shorter, and you're bouncing a little bit. And so I would strongly encourage them not to look at their watch, not look at pace or heart rate or anything like that, but really cue into how you're holding your body, meaning how you're holding your hands, how you're holding your shoulders. Are you leaning a little bit forward? And are your feet quickly turning over, or are you lumbering? Because lumbering is going to equate to like, this feels awful, like this is terrible. When we go fast, we mask the little inefficiencies in our body. And the same thing can be said about swimming too. When I ask athletes to swim slower, that it doesn't feel good. Right, because you only have one gear. And this is the same thing with running. It seems athletes have one gear. I can only run 8:30 pace, that's it. And when you ask them to do a 10-minute pace, it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good. Right, because you haven't done it. You haven't practiced it. Are you open to it? Great. Well, let's begin to do that. And it's a slow shift. Because you're changing the way the body moves most often. And it may require you to walk a little bit. And walking's fine. One workout I discovered, 2 years ago, training with a professional here, was the 9-minute run, 1-minute walk. And it resets the awareness, the body position, and how you carry yourself through longer runs. So you're running and jogging easy for 9 minutes, and then you stop and you just walk for a minute. And that's when things can kind of reset, and then you start up again. And then maybe you get the feeling that you can carry yourself in a different way. So I've gotten to the point where my cadence is the same at 8:45 pace, at 9:30 pace, and almost at 7:30 pace. Like that wide range, my cadence can be the same, even though my heart rate and pace are different, which means that I'm adjusting. I've got that light feel, quick turnover. So yeah, it's a feeling thing. It's very, very big on feeling, and you got to be open to it, right? We got to detach from, I can only run at this pace because it feels good. A lot of things that don't feel good because you haven't practiced them. So be open to it.
That's one of Liz's core training principles.
So if you're listening to this, you're a runner and you're like, I want to get better running, work with Liz. She will use her core principle to help you become a faster runner, because by going slower, you will absolutely 1000% get faster.
It's the same thing with meditation. When we meditate, we slow down our internal rhythm. And then what happens is we actually become more efficient. We get more done because we do it right the first time. We don't have to like go back to the UPS store because we forgot our wallet. Like we don't have to, go back and say, I'm sorry to, a family member because we pushed them aside when, we were rushing off to do something. Like when we actually slow down, we're fully there in a moment and we actually get faster, I guess you could say, in life. It's good stuff. Liz, who's been like a mentor or one of the greatest influences on you it could be a coach or an athlete or maybe neither of those two?
Wow, pulling out the big question.
Am I pulling out big questions? I said nobody was getting thrown under the bus.
Yeah, to be like mentor, like
get the file system out again, guys.
Yep. Get the archives. There are many, and there have been different ones in different parts of my life. One that just got downloaded to me his name was Professor Reicheld. And when I graduated from high school, I went to college, but I paid for it on my own. So for the first 2 years, I went to a community college, and he was my economics professor at the community college. And he was amazing because he saw more in me than I saw in myself at the time. And I'll never forget that. He considered me Harvard material. Now, this could be a great movie story if I told you, I went to Harvard. I did not.
And I was a janitor, and then I solved the equation on the wall.
That movie's about me.
And then they casted Matt Damon.
And he talked about apples. Are you like that?
I love that. Professor Reichel.
Yeah. And
Shout out to Professor.
Yeah, he owned a Christmas tree farm in his off time. And he was awesome. And he nominated me. I actually got this award called the Wall Street Journal Achievement Award in Economics that he nominated me for that I didn't even know. It just you just need that one person sometimes.
Professor Reichel, he was your homeboy. I like it.
Yeah, long time ago. You guys are my mentors now, some of my mentors now. Like, I do want to specify that. My husband, like, yeah, I think anybody that is out there teaching you is somehow a mentor to you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we could say everyone in our life is a mentor.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Even Matt Damon.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And he's from Massachusetts, so.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to meet him over for a burger at Wahlburgers. BJ, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of?
I'm proud of my ability to. It's hard to put this into words, but that's why it needs to be done. I'm proud of my ability to stay the course, stay the path. When I see contrast around me for those that are unable to pull on that thread and keep pulling on the thread until the sweater disappears, it shines a light that I have this skill, I'll say, that I've acquired, or maybe it's an innate, quality of mine that I've been able to stick to this one thing for a long period of time. And that's not to say I don't have doubts and thoughts of moving in a different direction very briefly, but I have this belief and trust that this goal that I'm pursuing, and it goes beyond just qualifying, it's beyond qualifying for Kona. It's this belief and trust that I'm exactly where I need to be, and I'm going to keep moving myself closer and closer towards it until something more compelling shifts and moves me away from this task. So Yeah, I guess it's stick-to-itness. Isn't that the word that we
Oh, yeah, we created that the other day.
that word. Stick-to-itness.
We have an email into Webster's waiting for them to get back to us.
We want to add this word. So yeah, I would say that's, it's tough to say that too, because there's, you know, I see what other people would say is like, well, you haven't done it yet, so why are you still going? Like what you know, there's plenty of other things in life to be filling your time up with. But I just feel like I spring out of bed. I don't literally spring out of bed. I know you can attest to that.
Yeah, sometimes that's bullshit.
But I get up each day with this desire to train and improve my body and mind.
But you are very positive.
Yes.
Your mind springs.
Yeah.
I just love that word, bullshit.
It's the best.
I think that's an amazing answer. I think it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I see that in you. It's pretty impressive.
I do too, and I'm not even there.
Yeah. You stayed the course with me.
Now that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, same with John. He has a stick-to-itness of keeping me around.
All right, Liz. We recently, the coaches of Yogi Triathlete, have welcomed in Daniel, which is our triathlon coach. I know, amazing. He will, I'm sure he'll listen to this. And Daniel, we are recruiting you for the next coaches podcast. We'll probably do that maybe, I don't know, late summer, fall. So get prepared for that. But in that, I gave everybody an opportunity to update their bios. We actually put our coaching philosophies up there. So you can check that out at yogitriathlete.com/meet the coaches. But Liz, in your
Oh God,
bio,
she's going to throw my words back at me. Oh God,
here we go. In your bio, it says that you've been known to challenge your limits and go beyond that edge. And how are you doing that now?
when I said that was bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Jess, how am I doing that? You know, it's funny because the other day I was thinking, where were we? Oh, you know, we were in the Wake Athlete monthly get together.
That was a good session.
That was a great session.
Yeah, if you guys aren't in the Awake Athlete in the YT Patreon community, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing group of people, an amazing energy when we come together once a month. But I noticed, like a lot of people when they're updating or talking about what's going on, it's around training. And what's funny is I noticed that mine isn't. And it's not that I'm not going to my limits or the edge of my training. And that's where I was the last couple years. But now it's in my life that these things are happening. And I would say that, well, one of them is doing Lake Sonoma, I would say. Mm-hmm. That is definitely one where I'm you know, it's kind of like The Godfather. You keep pulling me back in. And I keep not wanting, no, I really mean this. This is what I mean. I'm not going to do it. I don't need to do it anymore. I don't have any karma with Lake Sonoma anymore. But it keeps coming back in and to my awareness, to my dreams. So I would say that deferring to April and knowing I have that definitive time is one of them. But I would say in my life, it's saying yes to volunteer at Western States for something I know nothing about. But when it's that saying yes when your whole body means yes, and not saying no because you're afraid. And this volunteering for Western States was definitely one of them. And just the continual staying in my lane of which is not my normal MO throughout my life. I always felt like I needed to, no, I know this, so I need to tell you, and then you need to get on my lane. And now I've learned that that is not the case, that me staying in my lane is the best thing I can do for the others in my life so that they can be in their lane and live the life they are meant to live, not a life I think they should live. So I would say it's those things where I'm.
And I think a byproduct of staying in your own lane is like, now you're in your lane and you're not bringing all these people in it. So it's just you in your lane, and you really get to look at it and say, let's see, how's my lane looking? And that's the work that nobody wants to do.
No, and man, is it coming at me. I'm dodging things left and right now. And I would say, but I will add one that is in my training right now. It's just reminding myself of the strong athlete I am. I lost sight of that for a little while, and I'm getting it back. And it's not about pace for me. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm going to be the fastest I've ever been in my life. I'm just meeting myself each day and knowing that can I up level this right now? In this moment, can I up level? Am I holding back? Is there a reason I'm holding back? So I would definitely say that's where, yeah.
Yeah, I would say your words are true. You guys, awesome question answering. Do you feel relieved that the questions are done?
No, I want more.
I love questions, actually.
All right. Well, I've got more that I didn't ask you, so I'm going to use them for the next one. But Liz, in these last couple of minutes, I'm so glad you brought it up. You're volunteering at Western States. And the cool thing is that this is the first time there's going to be like a live feed. And so I don't know if this is going to launch prior to, but at least people will understand what you're doing out there. So let us know how you're going to be a part of it.
So, yes, it's the first ever live stream, and it's the first Western States since pre-COVID. I'm volunteering to be somewhere on the course and do something with this live stream. All I know is a phone, a battery, and maybe a gimbal so it's not shaking around. I don't know what that means, what it looks like. I don't know where I'm going to be. I did give some preferences where I'd like to be, and I went totally outside my comfort zone instead of staying in my comfort zone with the options. And I've never been to this area of California, and looks like it's hot. I was looking at the temps. But I'm also going to get to see some of the YT team, one of my athletes and a couple of BJ's athletes, which is pretty cool. I'm super excited about this. There's something about this race that's deep in my soul. I don't know why, but so to be there as a volunteer, I'm pretty excited. And it was a yes from the very beginning. The minute I saw it, I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm going to volunteer. And I've been volunteering a lot, which I love so much. And if you're out there and you don't really volunteer at races, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing, amazing thing to, like, I love it.
Yeah, and give back. Like, the giving back piece is awesome. And, even if you're like, oh, but I'm my race schedule and I can't take any more time, just when you're out there and you're racing, give back. Smile. Thank the volunteers. Don't judge people who aren't doing those things. Release that stuff. Live the demonstration. We can give back in many different ways. Well, thank you so much, you guys. This was awesome. Thanks so much for trusting me with questions, and you guys do an awesome job answering them. They feel very, very authentic, beautiful, meaningful. I know everybody's going to appreciate this. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Peace.